Today, eighth graders, you're going to be learning about 3 strategies that you can use while you're reading your contemporary fiction book. We're doing this so that you can keep track of the thinking work that you're doing while you're reading. You know you have it when you can write a rough draft of a character summary, a thematic summary, and a timeline of events that have occurred in your book so far. Each day you are reading more of your book. If I don't teach you some strategies for how to keep track of what we're learning about, then you're going to start forgetting what is happening in your book. And the strategies I'm going to teach you can be helpful for any book that you are reading from now on. Today, you're going to practice each of these strategies, and then you're going to use them when you review your book in a group conversation. Oh, I should say the group conversation will be happening either next class or the following class. The first strategy is called an analytic summary. And this is character-based. Character-based summaries are all about the feelings, traits, motivations, and obstacles that your character is experiencing. Here's a template down below that you can use to write a character-based summary. You could say, the story, and then put the title of your book, is about a character named, put the name of your character, that seems to be trait 1 and trait 2. And then you have to give examples of when they demonstrate those traits. Remember, traits are like personality components or parts of your personality or habits that you have. A trait might be someone is friendly, someone is creative, someone is angry. Those could be traits. What I'd like you to do right now is at the top of your page, write strategy number 1, character-based, and then write feelings, traits, motivations, and obstacles. Just take those notes in your notebook. You don't have to write the template down here. You're just going to write character-based summaries, feelings, traits, motivations, and obstacles. Let's do that now, please. Here's an example of a character-based summary. I'm going to follow the same template that I gave you just a moment ago. The Outsiders is about a character named Ponyboy that is loyal and courageous. So those are his 2 traits, loyal and courageous. And then I give examples of when he shows those traits. He shows loyalty when he stays with Johnny after he kills Bob and goes on the train in the church. That happens on page 42. Note that I am citing where those things happen in the story, and you should be doing that too when you're writing your summaries. Then I'm describing what loyalty means. Being loyal means sticking with someone or something even when it is difficult. That shows he's loyal because even though he is innocent, he goes with Johnny anyway. So you see, I identified a trait, loyalty. I gave an example of when Ponyboy showed that trait. And then I analyzed what that trait really means and why it's important. Then I go into a second trait. I say, he also shows that he is courageous when he saves the kids from the church. That happens on page 82. Being courageous means willing to risk your safety for others. This really shows courage because he risked his life in order to save kids that he didn't even know. Notice that I did the exact same format when I was writing about the second trait. That's an example of a character-based summary. Right now, I want you to take 10 minutes to write your own character-based summary. Consider the protagonist. Consider some traits that your protagonist has. I will hand out to you a list of traits that you could use. And then use the template that is right down here on the bottom to write your character-based summary. Let's do that in your notebook now. The second strategy is called a theme-based summary. You already did character-based, now it's time to do theme-based summary. Theme-based summaries are summaries of the story that have to do with ideas, motifs, that means symbols, things showing up again and again, thematic topics, and the big idea. Remember back to memoir. So right now in your notebook, I want you to just write this. Theme-based summaries include ideas, motifs, thematic topics, and big idea. This stuff right here. Write that down into your notebook. You do not need to write the template, which is right down here. Please write these notes in your notebook right now. Here's an example of a theme-based summary. Just like with the character-based summary, it follows a format. It looks like it's a lot, but really once you get into it, it goes pretty easily once you have learned the format. So I write, one overarching big idea emerging in the outsiders is family. This is shown when Ponyboy is explaining to Soda Pop that Derry has too much responsibility now that he is the breadwinner and father figure in the household since losing their parents. That happens on page 37. So you see I've identified a theme or a big idea. I've given an example of when that comes up in the story. Now I'm going to analyze it. This helps the reader understand how the Curtis boys are a unique family that face difficult issues because they have to take care of each other. Their parents are gone, and so even though they might not always get along, they have to depend on each other. That is the format. I'm going to do that format again with another big idea that is emerging is friendship. So that's the second big idea or theme that I'm going to write about. This idea of friendship is shown when Johnny defends Ponyboy when he is being drowned by the Socs on page 40. Okay, so there's my example of the big idea. Now I'm going to analyze how this helps the reader better understand. So I say, this helps the reader better understand how much Johnny cares for Ponyboy and how much he is willing to do for his companion to protect him. Even though he is very scared of the Socs, he still helped Ponyboy when he was outnumbered. Another example of friendship is when they all show up in the rumble against the Socs. This helps the reader understand that they will stick together and fight for each other even when they could get hurt. So I've now given you two examples of how to follow the format to write a theme-based summary. I'm going to have you take 10 minutes right now to write a theme-based summary about your book. Make sure to follow the structures that are provided and choose two big ideas or thematic topics from the list that I'm going to hand out to you, and then use the structure to organize your thoughts. The structure is down here right at the bottom. Please do that in your notebook now. The third and final strategy is about timelines. important to keep a timeline or create a timeline to keep track of the reading that you've been doing. They can be linear, and that means that events are plotted on a line graph and told in a linear way, like first thing, second thing, third thing. That would show main events. Or you could do it graphically. It's where events are drawn out and shown through pictures. Here's a linear example of a story called Pride. This is event 1, this is event 2, event 3, event 4, and so on. You notice that there is a descriptor or a label for which chapter it's happening in. So linear just means that the first thing, the second thing, the third thing, and the fourth thing. That's like a timeline, basically. But you could also make a graphic timeline where you draw small pictures about what is happening in the story along the way. It doesn't really matter which one you use, whether you do linear or graphic. It's more just a matter of what fits you better and what helps you remember and process better. Right now, I'd like you to make a timeline of at least 3 major events. Make sure to section these by chapter or pages so that we can keep track of when these things are happening. You should include at least 3 events that are important to the story. You can either draw them out or you can make them linear. Either way, in your notebook, I want you to make a timeline of at least 3 major events that have taken place in your book. We'll do this in your notebooks right now for 8 minutes.